with apologies for the fact that I have a little bit of a cold and I'm kind of coffee and hoarse, I call to order this meeting of the Sexual Misconduct Survey Council. Sorry, I was in Salem this week for our advocacy day and there were too many people in one room and thus I have a cold now. All right, if I'm looking at our agenda, it looks like our first thing is our consent item. So without objection, we can approve the November 2025 meeting minutes. So if anyone, oh, sorry. Oh, I thought I heard somebody saying something. Apologies. If there are no objections, we can approve November. Okay, seeing
No
none.
objections noted.
Seeing none, we are passing them. And then it looks like, Kevin, we're throwing it to you.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to give it's yearly reminder that the state offers income-based compensation for board or council service. So this is available for folks who make below 500K or 100K for a joint return in the previous year. And then there's further caveats that you can't be employed in state service and you can't already be getting a stipend from another board you're serving on. So I just want to give a heads up that I'll be emailing out these qualification forms likely this afternoon, maybe Monday, except for the 3 new council members who have already been in touch with on this as part of their onboarding. I'm required to send these to everyone, but even if I happen to already know you don't qualify, say you're an employee at a public school, but I just want to emphasize you're not required to return this form to me. If you don't qualify, can't be bothered, don't like money or whatever, please feel free to delete the email and never think of it again. Yeah, and if you have any questions or if you're not sure exactly about the qualifying, just get in touch and let me know.
Kevin, should folks complete the form even if they've already completed it and got the stipend the previous year? Does this need to be renewed annually?
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, this is because it's an annual renewal. So like even if you qualified last year and we're getting a stipend, I just need you to resend the form so you're saying that you're still qualified this year.
Thank you.
Rowan, I think it's to you.
Yeah, so reappointments. First, I want to just extend again my incredible gratitude to all of you who have been on the council. A lot of you have been here for the full 2 years, from the 2024 to 26 term. And you are, and everyone who is continuing on, thank you so much. We've just had the reappointment letters signed. I will be sending those out on Monday, so you can take a look at that. If you have any questions about the reappointment process, or if you get the letter and I've spelt your name wrong or got your institution wrong, please let me know. And I'm very much looking forward to working with all of you as we continue on with this process. Okay. And then if it's okay with you, Martina, I will go ahead and talk about the council member transitions. We have 3 new council members. 2 of them were able to join us. One of them had a work conflict this time, but will join us next time. That was Jenica. So first I'd like to introduce Lucretia. Lucretia, would you like to tell the council a little bit about just what school you're from and a little bit about your background and anything that you're interested in learning about the council as you get started with us?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Lucretia. I am a student at Portland Community College. I'm also an employee at Portland Community College. I work with someone else on this board, and this is my cat. And I am a peer educator preventing gender-based violence. So that's a little bit about me.
Thank you. Great. Welcome. And I believe Caroline is the other person that you work with. So just to make sure you know each other. And then Ian, would you like to do the same, please? Introduce yourself, say a little bit.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Ian Keithay, and I've been a volunteer with Planned Parenthood, Equality Texas, and the Trevor Project, and then I'm also a certified peer counselor. I'm a student at NUNM in the naturopathic doctor program, and looking forward to a future in being a physician and supporting patients who may have experience with sexual assault or misconduct that they are, carrying with them, which is something I'd like to be more aware of.
Thank you. Great. Melanie was not able to join us. Melanie is stepping back because Melanie is graduating. So it's a sad face that Melanie is leaving us. And great for Melanie. Then we wish her all the best. And then Rain is also going to be transitioning. This will be probably be Rain's last council meeting.
Aw.
Yeah. And I think, Rain, I had asked you if you wanted to say a few words about kind of what your participation in the council has been like for you.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Rain. The name in Microsoft Teams might be a little different, but I use they, them pronouns. And yeah, I've been on the survey council for almost a year, but not quite. I'm wishing that I had gotten involved sooner for sure. And I was able to sort of see the process and be involved in the process of finalizing the survey and sort of sending it out. And I got a lot of firsthand experience with sort of rolling out the survey because my school, where I work as a peer educator as well, so that's super cool, Lucretia. Um, uh, my school decided to roll the survey out a semester early in the fall semester. And so I had a lot of really hands-on experience with being a part of that implementation team and sort of combining these two areas of where I work. So that was super interesting, and I do have some stuff to say about it if anyone would be interested.
I I think we would definitely be interested in hearing about that. Are those comments you want to make now, or do you want to maybe type up a few notes for us that I can share with the council? Or
I could do either, which would be easier for y'all.
share now.
Sure, no, sure. And I can also send a typed version later, just in case anyone missed the meeting or wants to review. Yeah, I was a part of the sort of college-specific implementation team for the survey at my school, and they ended up going with like a survey rollout in fall of 2025, so this past fall semester, when we as the council had recommended a spring semester. And I'll get into just a little bit about that in a second. But what they did was they got a student team involved with the promotions for the survey and the sort of advertising for it and really connecting with the student body. So it was myself and the rest of the peer educators in our sexual health and advocacy program. And it was our director, our program director, who is a confidential advocate. It was the Title IX coordinator, and then the other person who works in that department. And that was kind of it. So it was really the students as the face of the operation, and the students were out there connecting with other students in the student body about why this was important. And I thought that was a big plus. I got to write an article for the student newspaper, sort of explaining my position in all of this. I was a first year here at my school when I saw the bill pass, and that was super cool. And seeing it all the way to here. And we had overall, I think, like an 18% response rate, which was not awful. It was not bad. It was definitely less than we were aiming for. And we had actually intended to roll it out in the spring semester, but there was apparently another committee that decided when all the surveys roll out that said, no, you have to do it in the fall because that's the only time we have like an open survey slot. Apparently, they just have a ton of surveys this year. But that was something for us to think about. And so we ended up just having to go with releasing it in November. Um, and the other people on the committee really had debated and come to the conclusion that that would be quote unquote enough time for like the first years at the school to sort of get acquainted with it. I still wish that there had been room in the spring, but now seeing all of the surveys come out, like week by week, it's like, oh my gosh, I think we maybe would have gotten lost there. But during the implementation of the survey as well, we had sort of chill spaces where students could come in and access laptops and like care and support if they needed. We had a raffle as well, and they're working on compiling the summary data right now. But yeah, that's my experience with it. There were some problems that came up specifically about the student anonymity. And at first we had some trouble with IP address tracking. And so eventually we got that worked out. Yeah, and I wish there had been more room in the spring because I do think we maybe lost out on that experience from people who maybe hadn't been here as long. Yeah, but that's pretty much it.
Thank you. I'm so glad that you got to be like, you've got to see the whole cycle, like from the inception of the, here's an idea, let's do a survey all the way through. That's such a unique experience. Did you have any feedback from students when you were doing the outreach? Did any questions or concerns come up?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I got to be one of the support resources for some of those chill spaces while people were doing the survey, and the only feedback I got was that it was a little bit like winding, if that makes sense. Like a lot of drop down menus for questions. But I think overall it was pretty easy to follow. People got through it in about 15-20 minutes. And uh, it was not super impactful on their mental health or mental state. But again, that was just the few students who came to me about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean overall too, a lot of students were really happy to fill it out, especially if they had. I noticed a lot of friends of mine who have experienced sexual misconduct were coming up to me like, "Thank you, I have something to say about this," and so maybe there might be a skew towards that, but we did try to sort of outreach, especially to people who um, like maybe their friends had experienced it or they hadn't experienced it themselves. Like we marketed it to that group as well.
Thank you so much. Does anyone else have any questions or comments for Rain? Okay. All right. Well,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. My endless saga with Microsoft Teams continues. But Rain, I just wanted to say thank you for all of your work on the council and for doing so much student organizing on your campus to get people to take the survey. And I just wanted to say from my experience in like doing this work with other states, like a lot of maybe the cons or challenges you described are like not unheard of and absolutely nothing that can't be overcome in another round of surveys, right? So just to validate, like the work that you did will definitely be remembered in future years and in future cycles of the survey. And yeah, every time that we figure something out, it makes it a little bit easier the next time. So thank you for helping set some precedent.
Of course. Thank you for having me and giving me the opportunity. It was truly just such a treat and an honor and a like once in a lifetime experience to have this like 4-year saga come to an end in this way. Yeah, thank you.
Do we have this is the day of Powell. I wanted to know if we had in one of the recommendations that it would be a good idea to have a student advocate in a safe space for questions or anything like that. I don't know.
I'm not sure if that was specifically in there, but that's we definitely
Right.
my school does and this is a continuing tradition from Rowan when you were here. We do have sort of student-led chill spaces as a part of the program that I am working for. So we did combine those ideas together.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think we made any specific recommendations like that, but I think it's definitely something to think about adding to the implementation guide if you all feel it's valuable. Jennifer, did you say the other day that OIT was working on developing something similar when you do your rollout? Am I remembering?
Yeah, our plan is very similar to what Rain described. We have two of our student groups who do a lot of advocacy around this, helping to set up spaces. Some of them are even using their club funds to buy like energy drinks and like cookies and whatever, so we can have snacks and like, provide a place for people to come and just, you know, have a nice quiet space. We have our lounge, our treehouse lounge is going to be one of our quiet spaces because it has an additional room off to the side so they can go into the room and take it and then come out and chill. Yeah, so our students have been super involved in preparing ours as well. And that wasn't a part of the implementation guide. And I think when we wrote that, part of that was because not all campuses are going to have student advocacy groups. But we don't have necessarily like a peer educator group, but so we have our treehouse, which is they do all of our like diversity advocacy amongst our students. And so we just tapped into them. And they were a wonderful resource in getting all of this out. And so we're doing something very similar. We're rolling the survey out, we're making a day of it, but we're doing it during Sexual Awareness Month or Sexual Assault Awareness Month, right?
Mhm.
Along with some of our other events. And so
Yeah.
we're going to do it with Denim Day and all of that.
Nice. And just so you know, Jenica, who is our other new student who will be joining us, is an OIT student who's involved with Treehouse. So yeah, so nice tie-in there. Right.
Well, should we move on then to our agenda item number 3? Are we ready for that, Rowan?
I think, did we want to talk
Oh.
about an additional co-chair?
We did. Go forth.
Okay, so I'd like to, Katie is still, yes, there you are, I see you. Katie has been one of the co-chairs in the Attorney General's office and is going to step back from the co-chair position, but stay on the council. Thank you so much. And so we've had 3 co-chairs. That's been Adea, Martina, and Katie. And so I think that has been working pretty well. It seems like that there's a lot, there sometimes is a lot of work for the co-chairs, and having 3 people made a really huge difference. So I'm wondering if we don't really have to have a process for this. If you know that you would like to be co-chair and you want to raise your hand now, please feel free to go ahead and do so. Otherwise, I will send out an email asking folks to consider being co-chairs, talk a little bit about what the workload is like, or what we expect it to be like over the next couple of years. But yeah, the meetings are casual. I think it's the one meeting that we have that isn't a public meeting, right? Because we're just talking about agenda items and things like that there. So it's a little less formal than some of the other meetings that we have. So before we move on, is there anyone who knows, oh yes, this is something that I've really been wanting to do. I want to be a co-chair. Okay. Okay, we'll give you a chance to think about it. And so I'll send out an email next week inviting people to let us know if you're interested. Okay. And then we can talk about, usually I think what we do is we don't really have to vote on it. So if we have one person who's interested, then we can just say, hey, this person's interested. We'll add them. If there's more than one person, we can do a vote at the next meeting. Does that sound good? Okay. All right. Sorry, you're seeing in the background, you're seeing my golden retriever puppy emerge every now and then. She's decided this is playtime and, so yeah, I'm ignoring her. So our next item is we have 2 schools that have submitted requests for institution-specific questions to change some of the wording on the questions. Kevin has just put the first one in. That's Oregon State University. I believe I can share screen, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up and share it with you so that I can kind of run through where the requested changes are. And just as a reminder, the process for this is when a school wants to change the wording or, there are a few places where it's okay to change the wording. If they want to add a question, they submit the text to us. The council reviews the requested text and then decides if the question looks like it meets the trauma-informed language requirements, it doesn't alter the intent of the question, and you all can make suggestions for changing the requested language if you want, or just approve it as is. So the first one is, this is one of the optional questions that we pre-approved, and OSU has just wants to change it a little bit. So because they're changing the optional question that we pre-approved, we asked them to submit this. I realize this is hard to see. I'm going to try to make it a little bit larger. Okay, I think is that a little bit better for folks? Okay, so because they have different campuses, they wanted to change it to, do you take classes in person or online at the Corvallis campus, in person at the OSU Cascades campus, in person at another OSU location, e.g. in Newport, LeGrand, or Portland, online, and then in parentheses, e-campus, because that's how they refer to it. They don't have a hybrid option, so they wanted to not have that. Are there any questions or concerns about the wording on that? Is there anyone who feels like they cannot approve that language in as it is now? Ian, yeah.
My partner's actually in their grad program for counseling, and they do have a hybrid option. They're currently in that hybrid option. So I think that they would miss students if they get rid of that.
Okay, all right. So, so I'm just going to make a note on the optional question on page 3. What is that? Page 3, keep hybrid option. Okay, we will make that recommendation.
Rowan, can you remind me, I mean, it's an optional question, so I don't feel like there's a problem with this, but is there anything in the statute that says that, I mean, I know that if I'm remembering right, the only flexibility that we've allowed is whether or not to include an optional question or not. Is there anything in the rules that say, I mean, do we have the power to answer this question, I guess, is what I'm asking?
Yes, we do. They can submit any changes that they want to make, and then you can approve them or request changes to the language. So.
Okay, then I'm on those grounds. This sounds completely fine to me.
Okay.
With the point that Ian just made.
Okay.
I love that we're going to remind them that they have something that they don't realize they have.
Or yes, or potentially accidentally deleted. But yeah, and this is why it's so important to have students, right? Yeah. Okay, great. Okay. Ian, did you have another comment or question? Yeah. Okay, Martina?
Well, it does look like they have also said that this one would be a mark all that apply, in which case I think that they're intending that in-person and online hybrid would mean that they could click eCampus and whichever campus they're attending. Am I reading that right?
That makes sense. That would make, yeah.
So I think then the question is, if the intent is to have them specify with which campus, then we probably want to not allow for the option to say in person and online, because then we would be losing the campus specificity.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, great. Thank you. Okay. Right. Any other comments on this one? Okay. All right. I'm going to scroll really fast. So if you get vertigo, shut your eyes. I'll let you know when we get there. Let's see. Okay. I'm scrolling down to page 33. And these are the questions that ask about the attitudes and awareness on campus. So the first thing they want to do is our question number 143, which with the code ASA1 says, I know where to go to get help on campus if a friend or I experience sexual misconduct. And they want to change that to at OSU. And the comment says, we would like to change on campus to at OSU, as all sexual misconduct services are available to all students and they do not need to be on campus to receive these. For example, our 10,000 plus new campus students can all access our advocacy center and our Title IX office without stepping foot on campus. So that's why they asked for that. And then they want to change. They think my institution may be confusing and would like to change all references to my institution to OSU. Are there any questions or concerns about those changes? Is there anyone who feels like they cannot approve them as requested? Kelly, go ahead.
Yeah, I was answering the first half. I don't object to these, but I love it when after all of the work and the testing that we put in, somebody comes back and points out what is a really good observation about interpreting language, right? Like the on campus. Does that literally, how many people are going to interpret that as having to be in person? So I really like what they're suggesting here. And I wonder, should we, I don't recall that we've done this anywhere else, but sort of insert like a campus name wildcard into all of the questions like that and just suggest that everybody create them with their own name on there. Then we would have the problem of this. Oregon State's a great example that they would want to rename for each of their campuses, right? Like campus OSU Cascades, OSU Corvallis, all of this. Now I don't have a problem with that either, but I like this point of feedback. I think it's a good one. And if there's a way for us to institutionalize it without sort of blowing up everybody's preparation and hard work over the last, if we want to just make this a one-off, I'm fine with that. If we think we could, embed it for next year or whatever, I think it's a pretty good suggestion on the face of it.
It could be a suggestion added in the implementation guide for next year.
Totally. And I think when we were designing the policy itself, this is like quite literally the definition of one of the suggested changes that came to mind, is like switching in my institution for your institution's name. I wish there was a way that we could put in like a Mad Lib in the outline of the law, but here we are.
Mm-hmm. So I love this comment. And yeah, and that's one of the really cool things about this, is that as we go, there are going to be people who are going to be finding stuff and we're going to be going, oh my gosh, that is so obvious. How did we miss that? Right. I love that. And I'm looking, how did everybody else miss it too? Right. What I'd like to suggest is that I go ahead and I can change the existing Qualtrics and SurveyMonkey versions so that schools that have not yet received them have the option of changing my institution to at OSU, at OIT, or whatever, right? I can make that change in the SurveyMonkey and Qualtrics files that go out. For those that have already received it, such as Reed or the other school, there's another school that has also already done this, the survey. I think keeping it the same and letting folks know this is optional. If you've already got it set up where it says my institution, do not worry about changing the language. Just know that moving forward, we're going to give you this option. And then we can, as you suggested, I think it was Jennifer suggested, putting it in the implementation guide and updating that. And then we are going to start writing next year's survey this summer, folks. So we can make this change in that version of the survey, in the 2027 version, if you want to do that. Is there any comment on that? Anything anyone wants to add?
I would just add that this is methodologically fine, right? Like, first of all, we don't expect schools to necessarily compare their data one across the other, but even if they do, we're not rewriting the question. Like the object that is the focal point there is going to be the same one no matter. So I think this is fine, and it's an excellent. And I'm going to pardon all of us for missing this. Like, we were looking at so many things. It's just bound to happen. I think this is a pretty esoteric catch on their part, but I really like it, and I think it's fine. We can, as soon as we can implement it, let's go ahead and do it, would be my vote.
Okay, all right. So when I let them know that these have been approved, I will also give them props for catching this and let them know that we're going to be changing it moving forward. And I also really appreciate the level of detail that their team used as they were going through these questions. Okay, so next page, same thing, changing this school to OSU. That's fine. I think with everyone. No objections. Okay, yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. And then the last change that they asked for, they're going to leave that as is. But again, they wanted to change have you attended or participated in any of these activities at OSU? And then they did not list any activities by name, but they can do that. That's fine. We've already kind of pre-approved allowing them to do that. So the only thing that would be altered would just be that particular sentence. And I think that is, yeah, I think that is it. Those are the only changes requested. Okay. All right. We'll let them know that those changes have been approved. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that particular window. Kelly, did you have another comment? Or Martina, I'm sorry, I'm seeing a couple of hands there. Go ahead.
Oh, I just could say on that last one, I mean, we wrote it as on campus, and I assume that we did that on purpose. So that's the one that feels like, is there any need to discuss that? Like, I don't at all mind. I don't think that they're simply wanting to sort of expand a little bit, kind of how anybody would interpret it. And I don't recall that we were thinking, I don't know. I'm just pointing out that I think the language on that very last one that we're changing probably is a change of something we did deliberately, but I don't object to it. So I'm just saying, does anybody else, can you think of any other reason why we ought to look more closely at that? But off the top of my head, I don't, but it is different.
I'm going back to changing that. So this one was school specific. And so I think because some of the activities that might be school specific could just be online activities. So I don't think that we specifically wanted to know, did you do this on campus? So I'm okay with that. But Martina and Ian, I'm seeing your hands too.
Yeah, I think that this is maybe also the same sort of on campus issue, but I think we may have scrolled by it. They had one spot where they said they're okay with keeping it on campus related to the I feel safe during the day, I feel safe at nighttime. To me, that also sort of popped up a little bit of of maybe a gap in the survey that I had not thought about about folks who are attending majority or entirely virtually. Obviously, nighttime versus daytime in a e-campus is probably not relevant, but the feeling of safety is, and particularly given how easy it is to engage in harassment behaviors online. When I read that, I was like, oh no, I think we missed something. And so I wonder if there isn't a need to have I feel safe. I feel safe online. I don't know how to exactly word that in terms of the e-safety. And maybe we already have that elsewhere and I've just forgotten because there's 1,000 questions that we reviewed. But the safety, physical safety, not just being physical safety in person, but physical safety virtually, and other forms of safety seems critical.
That's such a really interesting point. No, we did not do that. We specifically wanted to know if they felt safe during the day when they were on the campus and in that campus environment. And if at night that changed for them, right? And we were trying to think again about all of those different schools, PCC and Reed College, or where students are really residential at Reed and then coming in from all over the place at PCC. So I think keeping that on campus makes sense, but then adding potentially a third option, I feel safe while I am attending online classes or institutional programming.
We would probably have to workshop the language, and so this may be a thing for the 27 because I do think it is kind of a different or an extended question. But that has something to do with like I feel safe interacting virtually, right? Because it is a different form of safety versus risk versus harm, right? Like it is different. And also, especially for folks who are attending solely virtually, seems like important to ask.
Yeah, hi, it's Adea. I do think maybe we should include that later on and workshop the language. But also people who attend virtually, sometimes they do go to campus and still having that question, if they're ever on campus, do they feel safe? You know, maybe they're taking classes online for another reason. So, you know, yeah,
Yeah.
so that question still should be there. But I do think another dimension you just mentioned there is there. So, yeah, capturing that in safe spaces and being your authentic self and being able to be in a safe space physically as well as virtually is important.
So I have made a note to add that to the work of the work group that will be the committee that will be forming this summer to start working on the 2027 um, survey. Is that because as Martina mentioned, I think workshopping the language, having a discussion about that is important, and would probably be appropriately done in that committee. If I would suggest if anyone in the meantime, if any of the schools ask us for a change in that kind of language, we have 60 days to form a small committee to get together to take a look at it, and we might be able to workshop it in advance of that. But for right now, that would be the schedule. If nobody asks for a specific change, we will look at it this summer. We'll change up some language. We could add that as an optional question at that time, and then also ensure that it's in the 2027 survey if you decide to do that. Good. Great. Yeah. I love it. I knew the survey wasn't finished. I knew we were still working on it. This is cool. Okay. Um, all right. I'm going to go ahead and move on then if there's no other comments on that. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the Clackamas Community College specific questions. And I will share that screen as well. Okay. And these again, I know that Clackamas has been working with a group of students and they've been really drilling down into the language. This represents a lot of work on their part. So the first request here, instead of that optional question that we already reviewed for OSU, they want to change the language to during the terms you experienced sexual misconduct. So they don't want us to ask, do you take classes in person, online, or both? Instead, they want us to ask this question as part of the follow-up questions asked for students who said they had an experience of sexual misconduct. So we have a section, we ask demographic questions, we ask about experiences of sexual misconduct, and then we say, hey, if you had experiences of sexual misconduct, now we'd like to ask you some questions to follow up about how those things might have impacted you. And they want to have this question in with those questions. So this is so they want to remove the question at the beginning, and then they want to add this question later on. And the question, I'm going to read this for Adea, who is online with us. During the term, you experienced sexual misconduct. What types of course modalities were you enrolled in? Select all that apply. In-person classes that also have online coursework, which would be a hybrid class as they define it. Online with specific meeting times, remote. Online without specific class meeting times, online, and then not applicable and prefer to answer. So this is actually two. They want to remove they don't want to ask that optional question at the they don't want to ask that question at the beginning. They want to ask it here. Yeah, Ian?
When we say optional, do we mean that it's optional for the school to include it or optional for students to answer? And are they different?
Great question. Yeah, it's optional for the school to include it. They don't have to, there are questions, every question in here, unless it's optional, the school has to show the student. no question has to be asked by the student, answered by the student. So students are allowed to skip any question, and they would be allowed to skip this one if they wanted to.
Perfect.
And this would only be shown to students who said there's a tree pattern. So if you say, yes, I experienced sexual misconduct, then you get a whole nother set of questions, and this would be in with those questions.
Yeah. Then I guess technically there's nothing, like, is this even one that they would have had to ask for permission for if it's optional anyways?
Yes, because it's a different it's a different
Okay.
question. Yeah,
Okay.
so they want to include it. So they would definitely be showing it to all of the students, but yes, they have to ask our permission. They could use the optional question we provided with them without making any changes. They could just put that in. They don't have to ask our permission for that. But because this is a different question appearing in a different part of the survey, they need to make sure that the council's okay with this.
Okay, I misunderstood. My understanding was that this was a question that already appears in that tree later on, and that they were asking permission to not show the optional one and asking to show this one.
Thank you for getting that clarification.
Thank you.
I'm probably not explaining it real clearly.
No, I think that even they're right up here. It was a little confusing, but thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Kelly.
Yeah, the mechanically, Rowan, if we were to let somebody put in a question that's not even there, would this screw up the naming conventions in the system, or would it cause every question after it to number up by one or something like that? Like,
Yeah.
trying to.
Yeah, the naming convention is tricky, right? Because in the PDF, the questions are numbered so that you can, like 1 through 165. On the online survey, you don't see all the questions. You only see the questions that are relevant to
Right.
your previous responses. So the numbers are useless, right? Because you might say yes to 4, and then you get into
I
a
see.
section. And if you say no to 4, you're going to skip that section. So the numbers become useless online. So I created codes for them.
Right.
That refer to the section that they're in. So this one would be, I can't remember if this falls in which section, but it would be like ASA and then 8 or whatever. So they would just add it to they would add a code, and it would not mess up anything else.
So that then sort of lowers my sense of concern about this, but I think that just sort of, I'm torn on this, but my thinking is that smart practice would be to say, these are great suggestions. We'd like to contemplate incorporating them for everybody in the subsequent survey, but please stick to the one for this year that we've approved. But I mean, that, again, we're not expecting anybody to necessarily compare one campus to another or to compile all these into one place. But methodologically, you would just sort of follow the rule of like, well, don't change it until the next iteration when everybody is exposed to the change, right? That sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But to me, that wouldn't necessarily stop us. If people think these are important modifications, I think that'd be okay.
I kind of agree with Kelly. I was worried about the skip logic. If they want to move it into a different place or location, and how that would change and how it would flow. And then it seems like it's just asking more detail than what we're given. So yeah, I just think for this first iteration, let's see how it flows and see what's going on and what the student says, and then we can consider it next time. And it's an optional question. Maybe we could rephrase it in certain ways, and different ways they can ask that question and still get it at the same thing or something.
Martina?
Well, if we're not gonna include the question, if we're not gonna approve it, then my comment might not be important. But if we are, I think my only quibble or question for them would be, do they use the concept of course modalities regularly in the way that they talk to their campus, their students, their population? Because course modalities is like, in terms of readability and accessibility, seems like a pretty tough one, unless that's language that they're always using on campus and therefore would be familiar.
Okay. So it would be more like, where do you
I would ask of them, but if we're not even going to say yes, then.
Yeah. So if we kept it, it would be during the terms you experienced sexual misconduct, where did you take classes? In person that also have that, right? Okay. Got it.
That would
All
be
right.
my recommendation for sure.
Okay. Ian?
Yeah, I also think that this doesn't matter if we're not approving it, but are we at all concerned about how this would affect parsing the information from this and comparing it statewide? Because I think it would create this weird bottleneck where we're only going to get information on where students are attending courses if they decide to answer that they have experienced sexual misconduct, and that might skew some of the like markers for safety at the campus that we would get if we were capturing where do you attend courses and what is your experience at the campus from the front end.
Right. I think what you're saying gets to my concern more honestly, Kelly, than you and Adea's concerns. I think it's okay. So for they do have the opportunity to add a question. They just have to have us approve the wording for them. And part of that wording would also be where it appears in the survey. I think so first, we don't want them to compare data across schools because the schools are so very, very different, right? Clackamas Community College has an extremely different student body than NUNM does, right? Or OIT or any of the others. Even Pendleton Community College would have a different student body. I think with this one, where I get a little concerned is you're asking basically a question about you're not going to be able to compare. So what they're doing here, they're not trying to compare students who did not have sexual misconduct experiences with students who did, right? That optional question on page 3, do you take classes in person, online, or both? Drilling down from there, the school has the opportunity to use that data to say, okay, so we asked if they took, so for our students who took it online, they had fewer experiences or more experiences. So we know that that's it. Here, they're asking only those students who've experienced misconduct where you took the classes. And they're not saying they would be able to drill down looking at other data that they have access to. We ask students, did you experience the sexual misconduct on campus or off campus? And so this question kind of muddies that up a little bit because if they experience the misconduct off campus, we don't give them an option. I experienced the misconduct online. Okay, does that make sense? So how would I answer that if I had experienced the misconduct? I was off campus when I experienced the misconduct because I was taking my class online. And here they're asking me, where did you experience it? Well, I took it, I experienced it online, but I was off campus. I think that kind of muddies it up a little bit. I don't see that the criteria that we're really kind of looking at is not so much methodologically, but is this language not trauma informed? And trauma informed means clear, relevant, non-harmful, all of those kinds of things that we thought about. So I don't have any particular I don't think it's as clean as I would like. I would like us to have the opportunity to workshop it more if we felt it was important. Maybe we need to add, where did you experience the sexual misconduct? I experienced it online, right? Maybe we need to add that in the future. I don't really have a problem with them adding this question here, but I don't think it's going to be very useful to them, because I guess that's my take on it. Does that make sense? Kelly and Adea, you are experts on that. Does what I'm saying kind of make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I'm good with it.
Yeah, I think it's fine. I just think let's just do the broad thing and we could do it, think about it next time, how we could do it, because we don't want to get it so small and the sample getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I just think of identifying people.
That's a really good point too, Adea. If it's, if they've got just because the numbers could be really small, they're not even going to be able to report them. The question might not be useful. But that might be something we can learn from them doing the survey that we could then look at for our future iterations too, right? So what I'm going to go ahead and let them know is that we have reservations. We don't know that this is particularly going to be useful to them. We would like them to change that to where did you take classes, online or in person. And then we want to follow up with them because we're curious to see if this actually provides them with any useful information, because maybe we'll consider including a question like this next time. Does that sound about right? Hi, Kevin.
Hi. I just want to add a little bit of voting formality to this. It kind of sounds like I just want to ask the question: does anybody have an objection to rejecting Tacos Community College's requested survey changes? Kind of sounds like the consensus is so, but I just want to, if anybody has any objection to that.
I don't think we're going to I think we're going to ask them to reword it and then let them know we have reservations. We're not telling them they can't use it.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. Thank you. All right.
So I guess to Kevin's point then, is there anyone who's like, no, tell them we don't want them to use this at all? Thanks.
Rowan, I just want to point out that there was a question in the chat that the answer could be relevant to someone. Jessica asked, out of curiosity, did they provide a justification for why they want to make the distinction between synchronous and asynchronous instruction?
No, they did not provide that information. That's a good question. And I'm sorry, I can't see the chat when I'm sharing screen. I appreciate you calling that out. Okay. I'm mindful of the time. It's 1:54. We've got a couple more requests here I'd like to get to if we can, because we do have, this is the one thing we have a deadline. They've got 60, we have to get them a response within 60 days. So I'm going to go ahead and follow up here. And then this one refers to a question on page, hang on, I'm going to try to pull up the survey. I can find it. I can't. Kevin, can you pull up the survey and look at the optional question they're talking about? Because I don't have access to it from here.
Okay, so I'll share my screen then.
Okay, I'll stop sharing real quick. Okay.
Okay. All right, so tell me where to scroll to.
Okay, scroll down to page 3, please. So scroll a little bit more. Okay. Okay. Can you scroll down just a little bit? Stop. Oops. Go back a little bit. Scroll up a little. Okay, I think. Hang on. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what they're asking right here. Which of these questions, which of the following best describes you currently? I'm not sure that I'm seeing what they're asking about. Can you scroll down a little bit more? Let's see if we can find it. Okay. No, I don't think it's there. Yeah, scroll down a little bit more.
Yeah.
And a little bit more. Yeah, I'm not seeing what they're referring to. I will ask them for clarification on that. I think we can still look, if you can stop sharing, I'll go ahead and go back to their question. Even if we can't find it, I think, oh, bye, Kelly. Thank you for being here. Do we still have quorum?
We do, yes.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, great. Okay. Okay. So I'm going back to this. So even if we can't find that, then looking at this question, is there any reason not to add this question? I guess is the question I'm now going to ask you. So which of the following best describes your goals at Clackamas Community College? Select all that apply. I'm taking classes to get a certificate, to get an associate's degree, to transfer to a four-year university, for personal or professional development, for another reason. Unsure, I don't know, not applicable, prefer not to answer. So one, are there any concerns about what this question is asking? Two, are there any concerns about the way this question is worded? Lucretia, go ahead.
I don't have any concerns. I think that what they're trying to ask or clarify is right below, is in section 1, page 3, right below the optional, do you take classes in person, online, whatever? There's another optional clarifying about what they are looking for in their education. And I think they're trying to make this drop down list more accessible to like community college programs.
Glad you
So I
found
don't
that.
have any questions.
Could you read that to us, please? Thank you for finding it, by the way.
Yeah. So looking at the Oregon State University one, where they have their comment BB2, there's a drop down optional list right under that. So how it stands, at least on the Oregon State University one, it asks, which of the following best describes you currently? Please mark all that apply. I'm taking classes to get an associate's, bachelor's degree, taking classes to get graduate, or a professional degree, or personal professional development. I'm taking classes for another reason, unsure, I don't know, not applicable, prefer not to answer. So I think they just want to edit that.
Okay, thank you. Shoot that. Are there any concerns about what the question is asking or about the way that it's worded?
Because you can't read the text or the chat, I'll say that Jessica said that the free text part makes me nervous with regard to identifiability.
Okay.
And
All
it
right.
looks like we also have two folks who are hopping off, Lena and Jennifer. Does that change our quorum situation? Do we need to do a vote before we lose anybody? And it looks like Caroline also has to leave soon too. Kevin, what do you say about quorum?
I'm doing the math here on the roll. So yeah, we're gonna lose quorum, so we will have to end the meeting.
Okay. Okay, can we get a vote on this one real quick? Any objections to allowing them to use this, to change the wording on this? Great. Okay. And then on the other one, I will let them know that we were not able to get to their request number 3, 4, 5, and 6. We will need to set up a work group meeting for those. Okay. Hi, Ian. I see you.
Could we ask them to provide more reasoning behind a lot of the changes when we give them that feedback? Because I think that that's been a sticking point on most of them.
Okay, yeah, I will. I will also invite them to, if it's okay with you, I could invite them to the work group so you could ask questions for them specifically and give them feedback there. Does that sound good? Okay, great. Okay. All right. And so I think if we've lost quorum, then I think we need to close.
We do, yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and stop recording here.
Great.
Okay.